This is a 34-year-old Anthony Joshua. This is a terrifying human being. Terrifying. And he's got that one punch nuclear power. One punch. And he's fast. He's going to be terrifying. And he's going to have a lot to prove. He's going to be very angry that Jake Paul wants to fight him.
Joe Rogan just tore into Jake Paul, revealing explosive new details about the Anthony Joshua fight. What he said wasn't a soft warning. It was a harsh reality check. Rogan exposed the dangerous truth of what Jake is stepping into, and the intensity in his voice made the message unmistakable for everyone watching to hear.
Realistically, it's one of the craziest propositions of all time.
Jake Paul stepping into the ring with Anthony Joshua isn't some bold career risk. It's a high-stakes leap Joe Rogan sees as borderline madness. He doesn't soften his view at all, calling the matchup one of the wildest ideas modern boxing has seen. To Rogan, the jump Jake is attempting isn't just huge, it's dangerously close to catastrophic. A move like this could reshape his entire fighting future dramatically.
You take a guy who just had a boxing match that looks like a sparring match with a 58-year-old Mike Tyson, and then you're going to fight one of the absolute scariest knockout artists in the heavyweight division.
Rogan notes that Jake's last major fight was against Mike Tyson, a 58-year-old icon who no longer moved with prime speed or power. Now Jake wants to leap from that to a prime, explosive 250-pound knockout machine who spent years destroying world champions. Rogan can't comprehend the jump, and neither can most of the boxing world. The difference in danger, the spike in risk, it's enormous. Rogan believes no one with basic self-preservation instincts would willingly make a leap this extreme under any circumstances at all, according to him.
It's like you're dealing with a guy who's an Olympic gold medalist, and he's enormous, and he's got vicious knockout power, and he's got immense amount of experience at world-class level.
Rogan's description of Anthony Joshua is downright chilling. He calls Joshua terrifying, not just for his knockout highlights, but because his raw power is fused with discipline, sharp technique, and a level of athletic efficiency that simply doesn't exist in the world of celebrity boxing at all.
The timing in that right hand, just spectacular.
That's stepping in as well.
Over the top. I mean, that was a full force shot to the temple. I mean, he's Fucksville right now.
Rogan says Joshua hits like a truck, but moves like a middleweight, and he isn't exaggerating. He's watched Joshua destroy world-class opponents, big and elite fighters, with punches that shut the lights off instantly. So when Jake Paul signs up for that kind of danger, Rogan views it as a disaster in the making. He keeps stressing that the matchup isn't brave, brilliant, or strategic, it's simply wild. A choice that can't be justified without bringing up ego, delusion, or a paycheck stacked with zeros. Then Rogan dives into the real mismatch. The physical gap. Not just height or weight, but functional size. Jake Paul walks around somewhere between 199 and 220 pounds, depending on the camp. Anthony Joshua only cuts to 245 because the contract makes him. Rogan points out that Joshua normally sits far above that, sometimes hitting 260 or even 270 during his heavier training phases.
And there's some sort of a rehydration clause. Listen, kids, it ain't going to matter. You know, there's not a chance that Anthony Joshua is not going to just lose the weight beforehand. He's not going to come in drained. What he's going to do is just do extra cardio.
Even a trimmed-down Joshua is a mountain next to Jake. Rogan highlights the 5-inch height gap and the 6-inch reach advantage like warning signs plastered across the fight poster. Joshua doesn't just possess reach. He weaponizes every inch of it with ruthless efficiency. His jab is both a setup and a strike in itself, and his right hand, Rogan says, is practically a punishment tool, something capable of ending a fight the moment it lands clean.
Okay, look, Usyk beat him, and he beat him twice, and Andy Ruiz caught him in the first fight and dropped him and stopped him. It was spectacular. Andy Ruiz is super fucking talented. Usyk is perhaps the greatest heavyweight boxer of all time.
Rogan doesn't stop there. He digs into their resumes, and this is where the contrast hits hardest. Jake Paul has faced Tommy Fury, who beat him, along with a handful of former UFC champions, a YouTuber, and a basketball player. solid names for entertainment, but nowhere close to the caliber of fighter Joshua has battled. Joshua's resume is flat-out terrifying. Vladimir Klitschko, Joseph Parker, Alexander Povetkin, Andy Ruiz, Francis Ngannou, Alexander Usyk. True monsters, multiple world champions, huge men with long amateur pedigrees and decades of elite ring IQ. Rogan brings all this up to drive home a painful truth. Jake Paul is stepping into a world he's never experienced. Joshua isn't retired. He isn't washed. He isn't slow. And he's certainly no novelty opponent. He's a finisher with 25 wins, 25 knockouts, and the kind of lethal muscle memory that ends fights without hesitation.
This YouTuber who's fought Tommy Fury, who's a legit boxer, and a couple other guys that were legit boxers. That's it. Like everyone else he's fought Ben Askren, who was really a wrestler. He fought Tyron Woodley, who was an elite MMA fighter, but not an elite boxer.
That's why Rogan says this isn't even the same sport. To him, it's straight nightmare fuel. Jake isn't climbing the competitive ladder. He's blasting into the deep end of elite heavyweight boxing with no brakes and no safety gear. Rogan stresses the speed, timing, and footwork gaps, the technical layers Jake has never had to face. Fury troubled him. Woodley dropped him. Anderson Silva outboxed him for long stretches. Rogan lists all of this to make one point clear. If Jake struggled with those opponents, what happens when Anthony Joshua steps in front of him, fully prepared to make a statement?
And that's just going to make him more dangerous. He's going to be terrifying, and he's going to have a lot to prove. He's going to be very angry that Jake Paul wants to fight.
Rogan believes Joshua will enter the fight angry, motivated, and outright insulted that a YouTuber thinks he can stand across from him. That's the emotional layer Rogan keeps returning to. Joshua's pride, his frustration, his urge to remind the world exactly who he is. Rogan says that alone makes the matchup dangerous, because an angry Anthony Joshua is a different creature entirely. He doesn't play, doesn't pity, and he erases opponents.